Oopsies. Social media giant Snap Inc., that's the company that owns Snapchat, reportedly allowed leading Democratic campaigns and party committees to unwittingly tap into a repository of Republican voter data to better target their midterm ads. This is according to Axios.
Per the report, the company was unaware of the blunder and is taking steps to correct the issue.
Oops, we just gave access to Democrats to all of this information on that Republican company had a Republican polling firm, or it looks like it's all your favorite people, the Coke. It's a kind of Coke affiliated group, but yeah, they're just harmless mistake. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, these mistakes always only go in one direction, as far as I can tell. But
I don't.
Well, maybe you have a Bernie versus Hillary direction. The mistakes go. Oh, yeah, didn't the Bernie campaign make them some kind of access something they shouldn't have?
I mean, not that I recall. I just
convenient.
I sincerely don't I don't remember anything like that. But
I remember Bernie apologizing to Hillary. I mean, I don't care. It's totally different. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I know that many Bernie supporters are frustrated at the idea that Bernie had shared his information with the Democratic Party, his voter rolls, and many leftists are concerned about getting text alerts from like Beto at work and stuff now, when to us those are very different political camps and affiliations. But it is interesting here. When I first saw this story, my thought was, well, Democrats can't do anything with information anyway. They're so strategically inept that like it's not going to help them. But like, what are they really going to do with it?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, Snapchat is claiming this isn't that big a deal, and I don't know that it is, but certainly the firm, which is affiliated with the political and philanthropic network founded by Charles Koch. Full disclaimer, as always, whenever Charles Koch comes up, I also write for a magazine called Reason, where the Kochs have been donors in the past. The data was used to target Snapchat ads by groups including the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign, Planned Parenthood, etc. There's no indication the advertisers knew they were using this data. I think it's a reminder too that like this sounds like a security lapse or a screw up on their part. Now, previous screw-ups, I remember Cambridge Analytica, Facebook, that whole thing. When you later learned out what Cambridge Analytica was actually able to do with the data it had from Facebook, it was totally unimpressive. It was like virtually nothing.
Well, how do you mean?
It was a freak out over nothing. No, you would agree with this. It's the whole idea that Russians are targeting Bernie voters with like corrective. It's that whole plot line all over again.
So my critique is the idea that it is wrong for people to spread stuff that they agree with just because the source may or may not be Russia. If you agree with it, you agree with it. But the fact of them having such effective targeting because they have harvested your personal information from using these sites, I think is a slightly different issue. And that was the issue.
So
Cambridge
Analytica, it was in their interest to greatly overstate what they were able to do with this information and make it look like they could like hack voters' brains, and they now had this exact sort of subliminal messaging capabilities with this data. It was amateur hour. It was so much less impressive than what the scary thing sounded like. They were able to target a very small sliver of voters. Such a small percentage of the overall people on Facebook. Like the odds that you saw anything that was because Cambridge Analytica had done something, or it was a drop in the bucket.
So what we're talking about here, I presume.
But these things are going to be more. My point being, these things are going to become more common because data. It is very hard to keep this data secure. Is what we're finding out, that there are leaks all the time. That these companies are very. They range from cautious to not cautious at all with who gets this kinds of information. And in the future, just like the information on what things you like, what your interests are, what the social media profile of you is, that information is going to be impossible to keep private.
So what's confusing here is the idea that this is information that helps Republicans target likely Republican voters on issues that Republican voters care about. So there is this similarity between the Russia example, and is it a bad thing if Russians are putting out messaging that says, the government is mean to black people, if the government is in fact mean to black people? If the Democratic Party gets access to a bunch of information about who is a Republican and what they like, unless they are planning to change their agenda and turn it into the Republican Party's agenda, it's not exactly clear to me what they do with that information.
Well, no, I disagree with that, because they could, you could engage in all sorts of malfeasance in theory. Like you could send those voters, you could say, oh, this person is not a real Republican, or they're not, you know.
Yeah, but the ads aren't like secretly coded as approved by the RNC. They're still from a Democratic
Well, they
actor.
could do something like what they did to the guy in Peter
TV
Meyer in
commercials,
Michigan, where they.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that I can't imagine a world where they push their weird, arguably not effective. We'll see commercials that try to make the GOP look really good,
right, that
like
kind
the
of
worse,
thing.
the more radical candidate look like the better candidate, and you know, doing the Pied Piper strategy. But generally speaking, I do think that a lot of this, you know, a lot of money is spent, a lot of ad money is wasted because it's not, the ads aren't connecting with the people that you needed to connect with. And I constantly marvel at the skill with which these vendors are able to target who I am and what I want. Shopping these days,
so?
Oh yeah. I almost never shop from stores anymore. I just open Instagram and it magically knows that I was, you know, thinking about jogging pants 2 days earlier, and it shows me exactly the kind of content that I want.
I don't have that experience at all. I mean, it shows me that I was thinking about jogging pants if I literally bought jogging pants, and,
well,
then the thing I need least is now jogging pants because I just bought them, and that's all I'm seeing advertisements
well,
for.
that certainly happens.
I did actually look up jogging pants yesterday. On this.
We're having a mind
now oh my God, you're the ads. It's you. It's you. They replaced Brianna with a false person.
I have experience even having conversations with people or being at someone else's house and they Googled something that we were talking about, and then getting home and my Instagram showed me images of something, a vacation spot, you know, a kind of, you know, consumer good, and it is eerie, but it's balanced against this feeling that it is surprisingly accurate. Like if I were being hit with objects and items that I wasn't, you know, interested in substantively, then I think would be a lot more irritated with it. But it's not irritation that I feel; it's this eerie foreboding that they do actually seem to know me so well.
You know, you used to watch the television and you would see ads for all these things that are totally irrelevant to your interest because they're just trying to guess what the demographic is. You know, a very wide range of people watching TV used to see commercials for, you know, for cars a lot, or for cereal, or for things I'm not going to. But if you're watching Fox or some cable news channels, you're getting advertisements for geared to a much older audience. If you're getting, you know, it's all like that. Now it's getting better, and even on the TV, right? It's sometimes, I think, is this a conspiracy theory? I don't know if it is or not. That because it's your cable service provider, it's like Verizon is providing me, Fios is providing me my cable service and my internet service. So is it based on my? Maybe this is a total conspiracy theory. I thought there was some validity to this. I don't know that they can because you do see different ads based on that, even on the TV now. But it's a long way of saying it's not. Even though it's kind of creepy, it is better to see ads that are more relevant to my interest in general, right? You're not actually saying that's bad.
Yes and no. I mean, there was a story some years ago about how women who hit
knowing
a
you're
certain
pregnant
age,
based on the advertisements.
Or you know, a lot of my friends are not pregnant, but they got spammed for some years with information about. There was a period there in my early 30s where everything was about freezing your eggs. Like nonstop ads on Facebook to get your eggs frozen. Yeah, it's a wild world out there. It's a mixed bag, but we'll see if anything actually comes of this. If there's any, you know, recompense that has to be made, or whether or not this is a little bit of another day in the life of the media story.
If I start seeing nonstop ads for like Dungeons and Dragons paraphernalia on TV, that's when I'll know that my theory is correct.
That's when you'll know.
More Rising after this.